we're 5 days into 30 and 30, and I have only just, well, yesterday, finished the first book, which was volume 2 of Demon Slayer. I was really surprised at the big bad, because, you know, it's been popular for so long. I kind of knew who he was on the cover. But it was an amazing start to the readathon because this is a fantastic volume. Even though I loved those characters from the first volume, when this demon died, it kind of broke my heart. I really loved that. It kind of reminded me of Dracula in that way, of like, this is a heinous dude, but there is a release of a kind in death. And I really love the mystery of like that person. I think is probably a leader in the Demon Corps, who was like more children. I think it does a really good job of like setting up things and making things mysterious and intriguing. Maybe because there were so many in the first volume, I didn't really like the time skips in this one. It's not a problem. And I think possibly things are gonna not necessarily slow down, but maybe there will be less of them now. It did have a lot to cover, and I wouldn't necessarily have been happy to have sat through all of it, but there were quite a few. There have been quite a few so far. But speaking of villains, I really loved where we ended. It's been a fantastic battle so far, and that big bad. I think after the death of the first demon, introducing him the way it did was supposed to complicate things, and it has a little bit for me. But I also love a villain who is just so unashamedly, unabashedly a villain, we'll say. I finished the third volume in Demon Slayer, and I think I mentioned I found the first volume a little bit clumsy in its execution, but charming. 3, again, it's good, but there's a lot of elements that I don't like. I know this kid is going to have so much character growth, and I am looking forward to it. But ProZD's video came to mind immediately. What a snivelling coward. Also, I'm just... 7 Deadly Sins, I think it was free, and I read it late last year, and I just can't really... I don't think he's a pervert, but my tolerance is just so low for that now. And his introduction was not good in that regard. That said, I did like him at the end. Just in that one scene, but I liked him. And the other guy, who's one of the main characters, his introduction was very one note, and while he probably should have been more interesting, the guy with the boar head, he's not, because he's one-dimensional, and I don't have any feelings about how he's going to develop. And it was such a good set piece for a battle, and it kept cutting away to these two that I don't like. You had such an amazing set piece, and that demon had such a cool power, and we're stuck with these two numbskulls. Anyway, it's still best when it's dealing with family. And I love that every time we learn about a demon who is connected with the big bad, I can't remember his name and I can't see it in my notes, that he just gets worse. Every time you think you can't think worse of him, something new comes up. And like, I love it. I love it. He's such a fantastic villain. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say for that. Oh, I also like the way like AU that it started doing in the extras. That was really fun. I have brought through a book, manga, to read, and it's going to be one that I'm going to take my time with. Because I got it last year when we were in Granada, and I've had a flick through it, so it's not the most complicated book, but it is in Spanish. This is in English, it's called Dragon Goes House Hunting. In Spanish, it's Dragon Busca Casa. I know I can't pronounce Spanish very well, but it's really cute, and hopefully I can get through it okay. I did not buy that volume of Call Me Can't Communicate. I'm reading it through my library, as I am most of the books that I have in my TBR. I just really need to get more clips that aren't me talking in. I was surprised that there were 19 chapters in this volume, and as you can probably guess, they are quite short and fast paced, and I really like that for this. I think it suits it. And I think the pacing is also quite good in terms of humour. I'm really enjoying the way like the layouts all work to to do that. Most of all, I really like Comey. That scene where he tries to talk to her and she looks terrifying reminds me of Kimi ni Todoke, which is one of my favourites. And when I was a child, a teenager in at the academy, I had chronic fatigue, so I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I think I came across a wee bit more intimidating because I was very grumpy because I was not. It wasn't a great experience for me, and so I really latched onto her, and just in that panel, I latched onto Comey in the same way. Time will tell if that is going to remain the case, but socially awkward, lonely girl with like the long black hair uh, is very much like a type for me. The way things have panned out this year, I've just found myself attached to 2 trips this summer, and so I don't have any spending money. But if I somehow manage to get my hands on Sleepy Princess and the castle, just like we will have hit the jackpot. I've been slowly making my way through this one, and I'm really enjoying the insight into what it means to live in a society with heroes. I'm really disappointed with. I mean, we had interesting conversations with our female lead about motivations and heroism, and now she has a crush, and it's literally the only thing that matters about her, it feels. Whereas Yaoyorozu is so much interesting, much more interesting. Sorry, I'm tired. Um, like that team up with Shoto, and then when Tetsuki was kidnapped, and now, thinking things through, and like she's growing and growing, and why did this stop for the other one? I know what her name is. I just don't think I can pronounce it correctly. I am really bad with my R's. I initially heard about this manga years ago on Tumblr, and I thought this is really cute, you know, with this kid, and his mum is like, well, he slips up sometimes, but he's probably gay, and I'm not gonna pressure him. He'll tell me when he's ready. I did not realize that in the first chapter, he immediately kind of blurts out boyfriend, and then tries to backtrack, and it is very funny and it is very sweet. But I think probably saying my son is probably gay is underselling it a little. So it said to attach this before ripping out the violin, and that wrecked some of my stitches, and I'm furious about that. I'm also at the very last nerve because this has been stabbing me. So we're gonna sew this. and then we have to iron and sew right along the line. That dress is definitely getting finished today, one way or another. If that means throwing it in an incinerator, fine, so be it. Not really a consolation given how late in the month it is. I don't think I'm going to get to 30. I don't have that much familiarity with sports manga. I started reading Haikyuu this year, I think, and I got to volume 6, and then the library just doesn't have 7, although it does have up to like 17, just not 7, so I got stuck in that. So all of which is to say that I'm not someone who really knows how to talk about sports manga. I do think it's interesting, however, it's called Kuroko's basketball, and I thought, oh, it's really interesting to have like your main character not be showy. But then I got to wondering, is he like the main character? He's definitely kind of a trump card character in terms of position and role, but I don't know, the other guy, I can't remember his name, I'm so sorry. He seems more like the main character, the up and comer, the guy with big dreams. It might just be like a deuteragonist thing, same way that Haikyuu is. That might just be a sports manga thing. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with the genre, but it was just a very interesting kind of thought that I had. Like, oh, is he? His name's on the title of the manga, but that's quite an assumption to make. So the good news is Mum very graciously has tacked around here, and all I need to do is sew that. The bad news is the straps do not fit. You see these pins? All of this whole bit, that needs to come off because it's too big, which means we have to unstitch here. We have to pull it through and then re-sew. So not quite the reading day I was hoping for. For someone who didn't hate the time skips in the first volume of Demon Slayer but knew that my tolerance for them would not last, I'm really glad that it has really kind of slowed down now. More than anything, however, I really enjoyed this volume. It almost made me think that I liked Zenitsu. Poor boy, he is very compelling, and like I said before, I can see where his arc is going, and I know that's going to be satisfying, but right now we have to deal with this. However, spiders, which actually I was very surprised by the fact that I was okay with so many of them, and I really liked the design of spider demons. But then you got to that one that was a giant spider's body and a human head, and that was just too much detail. And then we got to the other one who was like a human body and a spider's head, and I just could not do that. Could not bear it. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to the next volume, but there is a part of me that dreads it now. They're taking less time to really kind of deal with the tragedy of the demon's deaths, which is fine. I like that there's still some lingering on it though. I like that it doesn't just let you be satisfied with it. That said, I think the standout moment for me was "But I'm not steel, I'm flesh and blood." Oh, this confrontation has been so many volumes in the making, and it does not disappoint. I just. I really like the way this volume 13 has been going. It has more. Cinematic is not the right word, but I really like some of the details that are very kind of visceral, and even like the structure of some of the chapters and moments. And it just feels like it's shooting for the stratosphere in terms of skill and deftness, and I really, really love that. Even though I have been struggling with like the last volume and this volume,